Hello and welcome to this edition of Inside the Americas. I'm Laura Cellier. Coming up in the programme, religious freedom versus equal rights for gays and lesbians. We look at the row over a new law in Indiana. Plus, the Chavista revolution stumbles in Venezuela. Why the opposition says it's time for Nicolas Maduro to go. And musicians setting what they see as a fair value on their work. A-list stars turn out to support rapper Jay-Z as he launches his new streaming service. But we begin in the United States with national outrage over a state law that critics say gives license to discriminate against gays and lesbians. Lawmakers in Indiana brought in new legislation to protect religious freedoms, but opponents from all walks of life say the bill is unfair and out of step with modern times. Well, now the state governor says he wants the law, quote, fixed. Ketavan Gordestani has this report.
A state-sanctioned waiver to discriminate. That's how opponents describe the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. Hundreds of them gathered last week in front of Indiana's state capitol to voice their fears.
This law does not openly allow discrimination. No, what it does is it creates a roadmap, a path to get us to discrimination.
As it stands, the measure prohibits state laws from substantially burdening one's ability to follow their religious beliefs. Critics worry it could give people and businesses the right to refuse service to gays and lesbians on religious grounds. In the state capital, Indianapolis, the city council passed a non-binding resolution condemning the law. The move also sparked nationwide outrage from politicians to artists as well as CEOs like Tim Cook. In an op-ed for the Washington Post, the Apple boss called it a dangerous law. State Republicans have denied any intent to discriminate and stressed the new law is based on the 1993 Federal Religious Freedom Restoration Act, which was upheld by courts and passed in 19 states since. But opponents say the Indiana law goes much further than the federal one and other state ones in that it clearly gives businesses the right to use it, even in civil rights suits that aren't brought by the government. In the face of intense criticism, the governor promised to amend the bill.
This legislation was designed to ensure the vitality of religious liberty. And I'd like to see on my desk before the end of this week legislation that is added to the Religious Freedom Restoration Act in Indiana that makes it clear that this law does not give businesses a right to deny services to anyone.
So far, more than a dozen states have introduced religious freedom bills. Under pressure from businesses and activists, similar proposals have stalled in Georgia and North Carolina, but Arkansas has passed the controversial legislation.
The Prime Minister of Peru was forced to step down this week amid a row about spying. Ana Jara lost a vote of confidence in Congress after it emerged Peru's top intelligence agency had been gathering information on public figures for many years. The President, Ollanta Humala, must now select a new Prime Minister and cabinet. This is the biggest crisis of his presidency since he took office back in July 2011. It's just over 2 years since Venezuelan leader Hugo Chavez died, leaving his chosen successor, Nicolas Maduro, with big shoes to fill. Maduro's had to deal with a collapsing economy, a rise in violent crime and what appear to be unbridgeable social divides. Well, our team has been to an opposition stronghold near the border with Colombia. Let's take a quick look at their report.
An hour's drive from San Cristobal, this is the main gateway to Colombia. The police's first target, petrol smuggling. A policeman siphons off the fully charged tanks. In Venezuela, petrol costs almost nothing. All that is sold on the Colombian side is sheer profit. What are you looking for?
Smuggled material, basic food items like rice, flour, oil.
Those products are worth about 10 times more in Colombia. Over 6 months, 12 tons of goods were confiscated. Practiced on a large scale, the trade is almost as lucrative as drug trafficking. The operations are deployed all along the border, 2,000 kilometers crisscrossed by hundreds of tracks and paths. In a poor neighborhood, these bicycles were loaded with goods heading for Colombia. Their owners fled when the military arrived. This whole neighborhood lives off smuggling. The goods are confiscated in a flash to avoid protests by the locals. For the government, the fight against smuggling is aimed at taking what it calls the economic war, declared by the enemies of the Bolivarian Revolution. All the necessary resources have been mobilized. The Chavista governor visits the region with his team.
We have to keep building and progressing. We have to break the spell that struck our national economy.
The collapse of oil prices is a disaster for an economy as dependent as Venezuela on oil revenues.
We have a weakness. We will solve it. But we have to admit it. We're not producing enough. We don't produce enough to meet the country's needs for food, material, other products.
Táchira is a region of cattle breeders. Here too, the planned economy is in crisis. With the price of milk and meat fixed at very low rates, production has dropped. The farmers now live off of subsidies. The governor has come to distribute 100 cows at a very low price.
Do you know how much this cattle costs? This cattle is worth $1,000 a head. The government bought it at this price. It sells for less.
But even governmental paternalism has its limits.
You can't expect the government to give you everything for free anymore. The government will help you, but we can only progress if you all do your part. Chavez lives. The fight goes on.
Now, the war between Chavistas and the opposition has moved to the economic front. The mayor of San Cristobal tours her district.
They're building a system that doesn't provide any solutions to what Venezuelans are living now. A system that goes against private property, production, foreign investment.
Today, she visits a village in a rural area. The crisis and the shortages are a perfect weapon for rallying disgruntled citizens.
Hello, how are you? Why are you queuing? What's there? Milk? Flour? Oil?
Health brigades, free medical care. The young politician uses the same weapons as her opponents. And she's curious about the houses that are given by the government.
They're all built with the same design. These ones, those over there, and those two opposite over here. Those are the houses of the Vivienda Mission, but I'm told that they delivered them unfinished. Hello, how are you? Pleased to meet you. We come from the mayor's office. We're here to help you with the sewage system.
At the end of the tour, she visits an evangelical church during prayer.
Even if Nicolas Maduro's government unfairly imprisoned my husband, we're here to help everyone equally.
May God bless us, and may He open the spirits of those who are governing us, so that our husband can be set free, and may political differences be resolved through the ballot box.
Dios Todopoderoso, te damos gracias.
Thank you all for your good intentions and your prayers.
Parliamentary elections are due to be held at the end of the year. Venezuelans are hoping for a miracle and the peaceful end of a terrible crisis.
And you can see that programme in full on our Reporters show. It'll be on air on France 24 this week. You can also find it on our website, france24.com. Now, finally, artists have long complained that the revolution in digital music has left them worse off. Well, now rapper Jay-Z has got together with some of his A-list friends to try and do something about it. He's announced the launch of a new streaming service called Tidal. It's going head-to-head with music streaming giants like Spotify and Apple Beats. This service, though, will be owned by the artists, not by the executives. Mark Thompson investigates.
Beyoncé, Madonna, Daft Punk, one after the other, the biggest names in modern music step up to sign their name. A declaration of intent to forever change the course of music history. Their plan, a new global streaming service they see as a solution to the problems facing artists in the digital age.
Our goal is simple. We want to create a better service and a better experience for both fans and artists. And that is our promise to the world.
The service, called Tidal, was bought by Jay-Z from Swedish technology firm Aspiro for $56 million last year. A majority of the company will be owned by artists.
Right now they're writing the story for us. We need to write the story for ourselves.
Tidal offers a standard subscription for around $10 a month or a high-def version for just under $20. The move is the latest in an escalating battle over music streaming, which made more money than CD sales for the first time in 2014. Responding to the news, a Spotify spokesman said, "We think it's good for artists and labels to be on Spotify because that's where the music fans are, and we're confident that's where artists and labels will want to be." In entering the streaming service market, Jay-Z will be taking on some of the world's biggest and most powerful companies. Spotify has 60 million users worldwide. Meanwhile, Apple is expected to introduce its subscription streaming service later this year.
Well, that's it for this edition of Inside the Americas. Thanks for watching. Until next time, goodbye.